What's up, everybody? This is Manny Fraser, and you are watching the Wealth Hustle Podcast. This podcast is about the wealth hustle that you're on right now because you started watching it. We're going to talk about all industries. We're going to talk about investing. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about everything. Make sure you sit down, stay tuned, grab your notebook, pen, and paper. Let's go for this episode. So let's first actually talk about the journey of the entrepreneur. And this is actually something that sits near and dear to my heart. It's how I got into entrepreneurship. The way that I got into entrepreneurship was actually through my dad. So when I was a kid, my dad moved here and immigrated from Trinidad. When he came up here, he decided that he'll never work for anybody. That was his mindset. Even good, bad, or indifferent, that was his mindset. From that point, he opened up a tailoring shop in St. Clair Avenue in downtown Toronto. One of the biggest things that he did was he utilized his skill set. So number one, in terms of being an entrepreneur, is you got to know what skills that you have that you're bringing to the table. By knowing those skills, you can now utilize those skills to find a way to make a profit off those skills. There is no skill in 2024 that you can't make a profit off of. What ends up happening a lot of times in our journey as entrepreneurs is that we get boggled down with thinking about, like, what is it that I need to do, or how do I figure this out, or I don't know what to do. That's not what the case is. What you really have to figure out is sit down, grab a piece of paper, and think about all the different skills that you have. From there, once you understand your skills, then it just get working. So anyways, from there, my dad opened up the tailoring shop. He actually became one of the top tailors in Toronto. And from there, he established another shop, opened up another shop. Apparently, my uncles also opened up clubs, and they opened up a lot of different shops all in St. Clair Avenue. So my dad, from that point, actually went into patenting, so like invention, which is another way to create and earn. So through patenting, he actually started, I remember, this is when I was born, and I remember that he got the recycling bins. And I don't know if you go into malls right now, you'll see the new prototype of this, the iteration of this, which is like, it separates everything from paper, plastic, and cardboard. My dad, back in the 80s and early 90s, was actually one of the people that pioneered that and brought that into establishments. Didn't realize what a big deal it was. I remember seeing it, and we'd go to like Dufferin Mall, and we'd see it, and you'd see his garbage cans in there. That was cool. And then from there, he started rolling garbage bins, and he made a patent for the rolling of drop sheets. From there, I started working for him and didn't like it. Imagine now a 12-year-old. I'd say as early as 8, 9, 10, he'd take me and my sister to the shop, to the factory, and you'd hire different people and you'd do all that. And we would get paid. It was cool. But I didn't fully understand what he was doing. And then until I was 12, he started taking me out for the summers. In the summertime, that's when he started taking me out to go and pick up garbage. And it was not garbage, but it was cardboards. So cardboard boxes to recycle them. So we go to Shoppers, we would go to the paint shops, we go to No Frills, we go to all these places, and he would pick up the cardboard, and then he would go take it to a plant, and they'd pay him for it. And then he would pay me for it. So it was pretty cool. That summer, I made enough money to help my mom buy a car, and that car was also the first car that I drove when I was turned 16. That was really cool. It was like a full circle event there. But what I learned from that point in entrepreneurship, so number one was write down your skills and understand what it is that you can do and how you can make money off of it. Number two, get to working. I realized something as an entrepreneur, that it's not so much about trying to make it big or trying to doing that. Like, I think that's in our current society with Instagram, TikTok, and all these things, we can quickly start thinking about, like, how am I going to make it big? How am I going to make $1 million? But that's not the goal. The goal can't be to make $1 million. The goal is how can I better society? Because if you can better society, I can guarantee you that you'll make $1 million. $1 million is nothing anymore. It doesn't mean anything. There's an asteroid in space right now that is gonna, if when they mine it, which they already sent a spaceship up to mine it. As soon as it gets up there and they start mining it, there is enough gold on that asteroid to make everyone a billionaire. My main question is this: if that asteroid, when that asteroid gets mined, and if they're able to bring it down, or when they're able to bring it down, and everyone's a billionaire, what's a billionaire? What's a millionaire? These are obtruse numbers that we think about, that we think that like mean something, but they don't really mean anything. Money is not a thing that we should be really chasing after. It's creation. So from there, write down your goals, understand them. Number 2, get to working. So from that point, from 12, I started working. And 12, 13, every summer I'd work with them whenever I wasn't working, like whenever I wasn't in school, I was working. Then from that point, I actually got my first job when I was 15. It was a junior rec advisor at the Kingston Road in Galloway, the TCHC buildings, MTHA buildings, the hood. And I was working in there as a junior rec coordinator. And it was pretty cool because I got my first job. It was the summertime, and I actually started working. And from that point, I understood, okay, I have money. The one thing that I wasn't taught to do with my money is what to do with my money. So I'd buy things. You'll understand the future rule once I learned it. Like these rules in life that I learned were learned through personal experiences. So I started making money. And it was pretty cool. Went on to high school, figuring out different ways to make money. So it's the other thing, like you start figuring out. So as an entrepreneur, one of the things I figured out is what are all the different things that I have that I can make money. So going back to rule 1, skill sets. So I remember when I was in school, one of the things I would do is I'll go to my friend's house. Every day I would go to my friend's house and we get a bag of crackers. And I would be eating those crackers. And then his mom would be like, why are you eating all those crackers? And I'm like, I like eating them. But the biggest thing that I figured out was how can I make money off of eating these crackers? So what I would do is I found out one day that you can't eat 6 crackers in 1 minute. Try it. It's going to be very difficult. So at that point, I realized I can't eat 6 crackers in 1 minute. Okay. How can I earn money off of this? Because this is now I'm earning money off of knowledge. And at that point, I realized that I can now go to school and I can utilize that as a way to get people to do this because it seems so easy. So I'd go to people and say, okay, I bet you whatever you have in your pocket that you can't eat 6 crackers in 1 minute. And they would look at me like, what are you talking about? Of course I can. They'd eat it and then wait when they get to cracker number 4, they couldn't do it. And I realized something there. Like there's ways to make money. Another one we would do, I would challenge my friends. We would go around and we would say, okay, let's see how many people we can talk to, say hi to, and see how many people we can get to give money for. This is now venture capitalism. Right? That's all that is. Meeting people, saying hi to them. Hey, I have this idea. Give me some money for it. So we walk up to people and say, hey, what's going on? My name is Manny. Hey, how are you doing? And it'll be like, okay, cool. Can I get $1? Yeah, sure. We would do that for so many times, and then we would be able to earn $20, $30, $40 off of that during lunch. So making ways to figure out ways to make money. Then it became a bigger thing because for me, it was always just figuring out ways to make money. And then it turned into a thing where it became a greed thing. And when it became a greed thing, that's when it became a more negative thing. What the negative thing was, whatever it took to make money, it didn't matter what I had to do. And from that point, that's when it really got bad. And I say bad because it was bad. I was willing to do things to the negative point where it was if I had to rob, steal, and hurt. And that was no longer about creation. There was a line in terms of, I'd say there was a line in terms of entrepreneurship, but there's no line. There's more of understanding moral code. Do I want to do this negatively or do I want to do this positively? And I started tapping into the negative sense of it. So from that point, this was when I was 18 and I was working at the exhibition, and I realized that everyone in the exhibition smokes. So I was like, okay, well, what can I provide for them? So I provided them the drugs and started making money off of that. And I was at that point, I was pouring money in because everybody was doing that. And I started realizing like, oh, this is pretty dope. From there, I went on and I worked at Foot Locker. Foot Locker is the place that taught me how to sell. The Midway actually taught me how to talk to people, talk to a lot of people, mass people. And I say the Midway, like the exhibition. But Foot Locker taught me how to negotiate and sell with a bunch of people. And I became one of the top salespeople in Foot Locker, Canada. Now, with that equaled another rule in terms of entrepreneurship. You need to learn how to sell or communicate with people. Because in entrepreneurship, you're working with other people. If you can't work with those other people, then guess what? They're not going to want to work with you. And if you can't communicate to other people, then if you're trying to fulfill a creation and trying to give it to people, if you can't communicate that to people, then people aren't going to want to work with you. So you as an entrepreneur, you now need to learn, okay, I now need to learn how to communicate to other people so I can get my point across. 1, 2 is so I can do business with them. From there, my journey kept on going. And like I said, from that point, I started tapping into more of the negative side of everything in life, which in terms of selling drugs, then became robbing, stealing, all that stuff. So I want to say I got sidetracked, but it wasn't sidetracked. It was more of let's call it what it is. It was sidetracked. And I ended up in a tough situation in life. I ended up getting incarcerated. It's a whole other story, but this is the story of entrepreneurship and my entrepreneurial mindset. This is the next rule that I learned, and it took me to get down there to learn this rule. It doesn't matter how hard you fall. As an entrepreneur, you can always rise back up. And I was incarcerated. When I was incarcerated, I remember telling myself, I never counted the days, I never did any of that stuff, but I remember telling myself that, okay, let's figure out a routine. Routine helps with patterns. Patterns help with you not thinking. So you don't have to think about the negative thing that you're in. So every day I do the same thing, work out, eat food, sleep, work out, eat food, sleep. Then I learned that I can make some money off of this. How did I learn how to make money off of this? Well, guess what? Like anything else, I just figure out ways to make money, which is one of the rules in terms of entrepreneurship. You need to figure out ways for you to create and give. Well, I started learning how to create ink, so tattoo ink, selling it to people. Then I learned that I can become a loan shark. What's a loan shark? Well, you need money because you're poor with money. I have money. I can give you money. So now money is currency in there. The currency that you're going to utilize isn't regular money. It's going to be products. The products that you're going to use is anything from chips, protein, pop, all that stuff. Coke, not the drugs, the soda. And you utilize that, and you can now use that as money, currency. So that currency was flowing through there, and that currency started flowing through me because I started giving things. So like, for instance, one guy was doing a construction management course with one of the colleges. I did his entire course, and for that, he provided me with tattoos and protein powder. Great deal. They asked me. Tattoos cost $400. Protein powders cost like $60 a bag. So, good deal. Another guy owed me so much money that he actually had to start sending money out to my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. And from that point, that's how I actually was able to buy the car that we had when I got out. So it was a really cool thing because that car that my girlfriend drove when she came and picked me up, I participated in buying that car from being incarcerated. So the thing I learned at that point was it doesn't matter how low you go, you can figure out ways to make money. And at that point, that's when I realized, okay, I'm willing to figure out ways to make money legally, and I'm not going to ever tap into that illegal front again. Because the reason why I didn't want to tap into that illegal front again, one, didn't want to go back to prison. Two, I realized something in terms of creation. You don't want to create things that die. You want to create things that thrive. So I want to help create and creation of thriving. So one of the things I said I wanted to do when I was in there was I want to become a personal trainer. I want to become a manager at a gym, and I want to hire people. I want to bring people up, and I want to help people. So at that point, when I got released, like I said, the first thing I did when I was inside, so you can go how I got to that point, is I sat down. What did I do? Rule 1. I listed all my skills. What were my skills? I was able to talk to people. I knew I was able to sell things, and I knew I was willing to work hard. Rule number 2, I worked hard. So what did I do? Well, I had 4 years inside a federal penitentiary. So what did I do? I worked hard on my body. Because at the end of the day, I knew that if I can now transform myself into this fit image, then when I get out and I go to the gyms, they'll A, hire me, but B, I'll have the persona so other people would hire me. And then from there, opportunity is just now waiting for the opportunity. So the opportunity came once I got out, because then I moved to Ottawa. I started working out in Ottawa, and at first, same type of mindset. I was willing to work harder than everyone else. But then I learned another rule in terms of entrepreneurship, which is you need to learn to do everything. So now, there's people ask me about this now, if I would ever open up my own gym. And it's a catch-22. The reason why it's a catch-22 is because as much as I would love to open up my own gym, that's not where my passion is right now. My passion is in the fitness and health scene, but my passion isn't for owning a gym. I know how to own a gym. I know how to do every single thing that's in a gym, and I learned that through the job I was in. But at this point now, I have another passion, which is just focusing on communication, sales consultancy, and just talking with people. And that's more of the passion that I'm going into. Owning a gym might still happen, but it'll be different. I don't want to do it the same way that everyone else does. And there's lots of different ideas that you can do with that. You should research it. But from that point, I learned that as an entrepreneur, it's not just about, it started off learning that from my dad, that his idea of entrepreneurship is that I'm never going to work for anybody. Where my idea of entrepreneurship at this point now in 2024 isn't about working for people or not working for people. It's about creating things. So now if you're able to create things, everything from like, let's say it like this. You guys listen to this podcast right now on entrepreneurship. I'm creating it right now as we speak. I'm creating my future into me being someone that people want to listen to. But it starts with me taking that first step and doing it. Without me doing this, I can't get that. And the other thing in terms of it is that from there, you have to learn, like, what is it that you want? What do you want to actually provide for people? How are you going to help people? Because I say this right now, creation is the way that you're going to thrive in 2024 and beyond. Finding things that you can create and make. So there's innovation and there's creation. Innovation is taking something that already exists and making it, like, adding to it. Creation is taking something out of thin air that doesn't exist and making it happen. So this podcast didn't exist. Here you go. But podcasting exists. So there's no difference in terms of it. It's innovation. So you as an entrepreneur need to figure out what you want to do. Do you want to create or innovate? And then from there, once you figure out that you want to create or innovate, you now have to do the work. I think a lot of people, when they think about entrepreneurship, you're going to see, when you listen to this and you see these posts on Instagram, you're going to start seeing other people that are in entrepreneurial space. And you're going to see this, wait. Before you go, make sure you listen to this. Here are 5 steps for you to do this. Here are 10 steps for you to do that. That ain't it. And while it grabs your attention and it seems really, really, what's the right word? Gets you going, that ain't it. And I say that because the fact that if that was it, then everybody would be successful as an entrepreneur. The thing that's missing in entrepreneurship and in this modern age of entrepreneurship is work ethic. Work ethic is something that you cannot remove or take away from. You need to do that. So whether that you are fully, let's say, we'll use investing. Where's the work ethic in that? Well, in investing, you need to, we'll start from the beginning. You need to read a lot of books on understanding what is investing, number 1. 2, you need to apply what you read. 3, you need to have discipline. 4, you then need to now figure out what it is and what industry you want to invest in. Before you can do before you start figuring out the industry, read, apply, discipline, figure out the industry. Once you figure out the industry that you want to go into, that's when you can now finally, now you're going to read into that industry, which is more reading. And then you can now put your money into. But you never want any money that you put into it, you also have to be willing to lose it. That's why investing isn't for everybody, and that's okay. In 2024, there are a plethora of ways to make money. So it doesn't need to be, well, this is the only way. And don't get caught in the trap of FOMO in anything. You're going to hear me talk about everything from cryptocurrency to talking about real estate. Don't get caught in FOMO. FOMO is fear of missing out, where you're like, I got to do it now. Because I can quickly say that, you know what, if I think it was Michael Saylor I was talking about this week, where he was saying that the current cryptocurrency market is like the gold rush of 1800s. And now by you hearing that from a guy like Michael Saylor, like, I got to get involved. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And you don't realize this one thing. You don't realize that that's evoking an emotion. And that emotion that it's evoking now for you is, I need to do something and I need to get involved. So you're skipping the research, you're skipping the knowledge portion, you're skipping all this other stuff, and then you just got to get involved. And then going backwards. But the issue is that, like the gold rush of the 1800s, people got rich after too. It wasn't the only time that people got rich in history. It was the easy time, but it wasn't the only time. So there's lots of ways for you to figure things out. And so my goal in this podcast is to talk to you from all these different angles and figure it out. We're going to talk about the power of telling your story and how you can monetize your story. We're going to talk about the power of getting into real estate investing and getting into new builds and ways to invest into it. We're going to talk about career changing, how to change your career. We're going to talk about the factor of, here's one for you guys in terms of it. And I learned this a while ago. There are 4 different ways for you to get quote unquote rich. One way is inheriting it. Unless you have some rich uncle that you don't know about, or a rich dad or a rich mom or a rich someone who's going to leave you money, that way is not happening for you. I'm sorry. Okay. Or you shack up with someone. Don't shack up with anyone. Please don't do it. But other than that, unless someone rich is leaving you money, you're not inheriting any money. 2, lottery. Well, we know how that goes. You have a better chance of getting hit by lightning than winning the lottery. Now, for those of you who won the lottery who are listening to me, good job. You didn't get hit by lightning. I congratulate you. But for everyone else that hasn't won the lottery, there are lots of different ways for you to get rich other than paying the lottery. 2, creation, innovation. So creating things. So as a business owner, creating or innovating, creating a system that other people utilize. So it's one thing to be a business owner and have a business. That's one that helps. But now how do you duplicate yourself? It's by creating a system and having other people utilize it. So that's now like franchising. That is still there for you, no matter what. Like there's so many different things you can franchise. Here's a good example of my mini franchising story. I was selling water at during the summertime on the beach. There's another thing you can think about in terms of entrepreneurship. Go to places where people need you. Even though there's tons of water, there's no water to drink. So I brought water to the beach. And I brought my cooler, put a bunch of ice in it, showed up, selling water, $2 a bottle. It cost me $2 to buy 30. So I bought 3, 6, 9, about 90 bottles of water. It cost me $6. Within 3 bottles of water sold, I made back my profit. Yay. My main goal is to leave with nothing. So that way I make back my profit and then some. So I didn't leave with anything because it's summertime, it's hot, and it's the beach. Of course they're going to buy water. So I show up with the water and I sell it. At that time, I started bringing my friend, who became my girlfriend, who became my wife, to this event of selling water. So we started selling water on the beach together. She actually made enough to buy her first car. It's really interesting. And then I was like, okay, we're going to get ready for Caravana. So in Caravana, I'm like, okay, I have an idea. We're going to sell more water. I'm going to be a water king. And you're going to have water over here, and I'm going to have water over there, and we're going to go back and forth with water. And we had 2 different locations. So she had a location, I had a location. The goal was to sell at both locations. I earned 60%, and then I gave her 40%. That's an idea of franchising. I didn't have to be at the other location because now since I didn't have to be at the other location, I didn't have to actually do anything. All I did was just bring it to the location and then I walked away. That's the idea of franchising. Can you actually be able to get duplication of yourself, duplicate yourself? The last way for you to make money or become rich, there's another way. There's another 2 ways, actually. Investing is really powerful, definitely really powerful. And then the last way would be going into just becoming so big in your company. Companies pay money. Like that's one of the reasons why I work for a company. Companies will pay you money to do work. And sometimes it's less of a hassle to work for that company than it is to work for yourself. And you can put your mind and your efforts and your energy, anything extra you have, into other things that are within your industry. Right? So this goes back into talking industry versus talking jobs and jobs. If you're working a career, what industry you're in? If you're in let's say you're in the banking sector, how do you now make more things in the banking sector? If you're in the public works sector, how are you going to do more things? And in real estate, how are you going to do more real estate stuff? So the thing you got to figure out is that what industry you're in. Once you figure out what industry you're in, then you can figure out how can I now amplify or make that industry even bigger. And from that point, as you now become the person that goes from just working in the industry to providing for the industry, at that point, you get a larger share of that industry. How much am I providing in the fitness and health industry is how much I get, a piece of that pie. The more I can provide, the more I get. If I was the guy who invented The Biggest Loser, I'd get a big pie because the big people on there. No, that's not the reason why. It's just that it's a huge show that ran on NBC and you have so much off of that. So from that point, I would get a lot more off of that because the industry is huge. So let's bring it back in. Whoop. Entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is really what you make out of it. If you want to be a person that is an entrepreneur, it's a journey that is so fun. And you don't need to quit your job and go into doing something. You can keep the job you have right now and figure out ways to make more money. We call this the side hustle or the weekend hustle. What are you going to do on the weekend? For all my laborers, what decks are you building on the weekend for money? Right? Like you see it all the time in other industries. It's just that for the normal person, it's hard for us to see what else we can do to really make it in this society. And I hear this a lot right now, especially in this current market that we're in, with interest rates high, with housing prices high, with wages. I don't really like talking about wages because when people talk about minimum wage, it's not something that I think about. It's because if I'm well sought after for my field, then minimum wage is not what you're going to be paid. So the question to me would be, how do you now make yourself more valuable to the point where they have to pay you more? If you're doing a job that anyone else can do, then yeah, sorry, that's what you're going to get paid. But if you now figure out ways to improve yourself, which is a whole other thing that we could talk about, which is self-improvement, that will help you. Okay, so for today, the Health and Hustle podcast, what that's about is realistically, it's just getting people to the point where they have different ideas and they can learn different things. My main goal over the next however long is to get different guests in here and talk about their journey in whatever industry that they're in and give you guys the nuggets to help you, whether it's changing industries or investing in those industries, and where you can actually better yourself and improve where you're at and look at it from that point of view and see different points of views as well. With that being said, that's all. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you found something interesting in this, download this, play it again. If you have any questions, you can reach me at the Manny Fraser on Instagram. I'm there to help you. I got your back for life. Peace.